Good morning, everyone.
Buenos días, ¿cómo está?
Buenos días.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, welcome to the session number 4 of this module. Before to start with the contents of the session, I want to ask, no, but Fatima is not here yet because she wants some feedback about her project, but I think she's not here. Okay. Well, I want to share my screen. It's okay? Can you see my screen?
Sí, señora, ahí se ve.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Today, we are going to talk a little about the perspectives and purpose of research topics. And I will present here some examples and ideas in the first part. And in the second part, I want to do some practical work in groups with the two principal groups, the group of Latin America and the group of Asia and Africa. Okay. The objective of this session is to analyze and to adapt the methodology and the methods followed by each participant for their intercultural research using agreed viewpoint tools. Today, we are going to go deeper in your proposals in terms of methodologies and tools. And I want, in the last section of the session, to work about how can you plan a workshop, and a specific workshop. Yes, this is the goal of this session. Well, in terms of the contents, I think the main principles of these sessions are, first of all, how we can apply, yes, the application of tools to ensure a cross-cultural approach. This is a principal goal. The second is to think and to explain a little more the criteria for indigenous research. And finally, I want to ask you about the dialogue between knowledge and the discussion about cultural methodologies and how we can generate evidence, results in your projects. I want perhaps here to read these interesting ideas from an indigenous women researcher. Perhaps, I don't know if somebody should read. We have the Spanish version and the English version. Somebody want to help me to read?
Yo podría.
Gracias. Sigue, por favor.
Y un ratito voy a agrandar la pantalla. El cuadro blanco, ¿verdad?
Ajá.
La
The
investigación realizada desde
The research done from within our own indigenous women has added value because you take into account the following advantages: credibility, openness to the present, mediation of the language shared, understanding of the codes, sisterhood accompaniment. Because of these advantages, it is important to have the research, intercultural research, as a collective work and community work.
Muchas gracias. ¿Y cómo es para ti esto?
And how do you feel? How does this fit into your project? or you could be that there's some things that you're not in agreement with, that as a researcher. For you, how does it feel to be an Indigenous research woman? How does this relate to your community, to your organization, to your project? How does this fit with you? I feel that it's important in the topic of mediation of the language that is going to be shared. I think those are two separate works. First is to talk in our language, and then to mediate that, to do that in writing into Spanish. So I feel that you have two separate works that you have to do hand in hand when you're doing research, intercultural research, or at least with the modality, bilingual modality. I also feel that there doesn't have to be a part of our research. I can come into sisterhood and accompaniment, or I feel that we go through your own territory. So it's a process through your own home. So it's not just another family, it's another people, but it's something that's from within for you. And that is why you want to do the research. So it means on my body, the human body, and my sisters, the body, the territory, or the space where we're going to be, geographical space where we're going to be in. So that's something I would like to add. Thank you very much. I also think when I'm hearing to you, I'm thinking that it's a big responsibility as well, don't you think? I remember when you presented your project, you were telling us a bit about how this, and that's how I read it. I'm sorry, perhaps because this happened to me before in my life. I feel that there is such a big responsibility, and I feel so small that my actions sometimes are going to be so small to transform so many painful things. So when I listened to you, I was thinking how it was for you, because so like what actions are you taking in self-care of the, and when we talk about this, we're talking about to not die in the trying, you know, to not die trying, and that we can be also thinking about our own healing, and besides the healing of the other people that we're going to be working with. You also might want to share as well something around that challenge for you. Totally. When I decide to be a specific topic on a sexual abuse, it's not that, oh, I'm going to do doing a topic about this. No, it's just the topic that I'm picking. But I feel that the case that I want to expose here is not only something that happened to me, but to the whole community. The fact that it was a sexual abuse, and it's alarming, let's say, because, well, I say because it's a drop that spilled the water, the was, for the community to come up and say, let's do something about it. There's an assembly, let's take action. Because the person that was doing the aggression lives in the community and has been doing many cases for many, many years to other women, and has always been like taken, put down. Even when you talk about this, that anger that you feel is so small compared to the magnitude of the issue. Because for me, yes, it's that has to be the topic of self-care, the therapy that I've received, and for me to do the rituals, that's very important to me, and to create that awareness that we have to take care of ourselves, and to know that I can also contribute with what I can, which is through writing. And that's it. I mean, I feel that it's something that we take into our own. This research has not only been a process, but also something that makes me feel impotent and feel the pain and even fearful to know that this person lives in my community. I live by myself, and sometimes in some weeks I felt that I was afraid to open the door. Like I don't know if he's gonna be standing there, and just in fear with my body. And it's not only myself, but it's just like the other people that live in the communities. and we're just like the feeling the concern of the other people, all the ladies in my community. And this is why it's something that it touches each one of the topics that we're discussing, touches us in one way or another, and we're working in that way because we are 96, 97% unconsciously. Only 2%, we're only aware of this 2% consciously. So we're trying to heal that thread and that historical part that we're all living.
Ok, muchas gracias, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Quisiera
Thank
hacer
you,
un
Mai.
ejercicio,
I would like to do an exercise
aprovechando la
taking into
capacidad de
advantage the generosity of
¿Estamos
Samai.
viendo la presentación PowerPoint o nos estamos viendo
Can you see the PowerPoint?
Nosotras
Can
no
you check my PowerPoint?
Gracias, Mayora Lorena. Ok, entonces hay una...
So there is
ejercicio,
an exercise
que se llama empatía
that is called
kinestésica,
kinesthetic as empathy
podemos usar también
that we can do
desde la danza, movimiento,
from our
terapias,
through
como
dancing and movement
las
therapy,
perspectivas que yo trabajo,
which is one of the perspectives that I work with,
para ver un
to
poco
see
lo que dice
a
Samar,
bit
lo que les
what Samai was mentioning or what I was mentioning that happens in our bodies.
Entonces les voy a pedir, es un ejercicio
And I'm going to ask you all, this is a very simple exercise.
las que puedan, por favor, para que
Those who
prendan la
can,
cámara, porque como
please, so you can
estamos
open your
viendo
cameras because we need to see our bodies.
difícil,
So it's hard
apagada,
to do so with the camera closed. It
están
doesn't matter if you're in your car, if you're just taking a shower, you're having breakfast, doesn't matter. Want to see your face.
Entonces, Samay quería
So Samai,
preguntarte
I was going to
si
ask
para
you
ti,
if it's okay
en tu cuerpo, ¿qué te hace?
in your
¿Cómo
body.
podrías con un gesto
How can you, in with what
mostrar,
gesture can you show
lo
us
que yo leo al oírte
what I
es al
read
mismo tiempo,
when I listen to you?
o puedo empezar por mí, ¿sí?
Or I can start with myself first.
Como así,
Okay, I
en
feel
este caso que estoy acompañada
with this
de
case that I'm
un
accompanying,
paciente
I told you, I think,
de un crimen de lesa humanidad
of
aquí en mi país
a
contra
crime that happened here in my
14
country
niñas
against 14
indígenas
kids and 13
en el
indigenous
pueblo de
children
Wiwa,
in the Wiwa town
que
that
fueron
were
asesinadas y violadas
murdered
por
and
la
raped
guerrilla de las FARC.
by the FARC guerrilla.
Y estamos
And
acompañando a
we're
sus
accompanying
familias, a
this
su
process, the
organización,
families and the organization,
para que este caso sea
so that this case can be
por la jurisdicción especial.
given up by the jurisdiction.
Entonces al mismo tiempo yo me siento,
So at the same time, I feel, let me stand up here, I feel a bit of,
una posibilidad grandísima
I feel a big opportunity
y al
like
mismo
that,
tiempo me
big
siento
opportunity, but at the same time, I feel very small.
Entonces, no sé
So
si
I don't know if
you want, you can share with me the gesture. Yes, it's like this. Sometimes I feel powerful and I think everything is possible. And sometimes I think it's so difficult. Yes. And I want to propose a gesture in between. Yes. Something like the articulation of the two polarities. Yes, something like that. And like that. Yes, something like a dance. Yes, like this is better for me. Yes. And I don't know if, for example, for Samai, it is possible, but I think Samai is not here now.
Aquí estoy, sí.
Sí,
that's
sí,
how
sí.
might be, no?
Samai, quisieras, si está bien para ti.
Samai, if it's possible for you to share a bit about with your body, with that polarity,
Sí.
Que nos propongas una integración.
and so that we can propose an integration and then we'll be accompanying.
Siento que
I
sí,
feel
justo esa polaridad que yo
that polarity that you're mentioning
con
that I
este
live with this case,
cuando
when I feel, when I sit in front of my computer, when I am in my own safe space in my room, I feel huge. I feel big, strong.
Cuando me
But at the
siento
same time, when I am as a woman,
que soy comunera como la señora,
that are just one more person in the community, that the person that I'm attending, I live here by myself, and I just start thinking of all the system, the whole patriarchal system, and I feel that this is a case after case. I feel so small, very small, that something else can just like take me with the wind. So I feel in that polarity. And to mention this makes me feel that my chest starts to open up, and my throat as well starts to feel more free, because it's releasing something, and my hands start to help that process, so that this small thing start to extend. We're extending. And I take a deep breath. Thank you very much. Thank you. That felt good. Thank you very much for taking that gesture. So we go, let's put that into one whole thing. So you can see the two things. So you have like wide arms, that greatness, and then I just embrace myself. I embrace my chest. So we spread our arms and then come in and embrace ourselves. There you go. Thank you. This is beautiful. Thank you very much. 6 times this week. If this happens to me, it happens to me. I sometimes look like a crazy woman because I just start doing this type of movements, like stand up, and I start doing that. These are both truths that we live in. And this helps me to calm myself. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know if somebody
All right.
else want to share. How do you feel about this big challenge to be Indigenous women researcher, and at the same time, yes, it's not easy, no, to have all this responsibility, and it is okay to show our vulnerability, no, it is okay, because we are together here, and it's important to share our vulnerability too. Somebody want to share, or it's okay? Nobody? If you want, it is possible using the body, no? If you want, if you don't want to speak, but if you don't participate, it's okay too. Nobody else? Okay, thank you, Samai. We are going to continue with the presentation. Can you see the presentation?
Sí.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. But I can't see my presentation. Now it's okay? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, here I want
Hay que hablar de
to...
indígenas o pueblos originarios. ¿Está bien o está mal? ¿Es correcto?
Here I want to propose some questions, yes, about yes, the challenge and the possibility to be an Indigenous women researcher. Yes, I think, for example, the first section of question, we had work about this first section in your presentation the last week. How do you define the problem? How relevant it is? How do you state it? And today, I want to ask you the other kind of questions. Yes, I don't know if perhaps somebody should help me to read the second section. What knowledge will the community gain from the study? Somebody can read the question, please.
Please, is it talking about the activity 2?
Yes, yes. Can you help me, please, to read the questions?
All right, all the questions, right? All right, activity 2. Is my research cross-cultural? Convention led by groups. Divide the group into 3 groups, 1 Spanish-speaking group and 2 English-speaking group. Have them answer the following questions. 1. How do you define the problem? How relevant is it? How do you state it? What knowledge will the community gain from the study? What knowledge will you gain as a researcher? What positive result will come out of the study? What negative result will come out of the study? How do you eliminate the negative result? Who do you respond to as a researcher? Recommendation for supporting research communities and researchers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I will I want to recommend the groups to think in your personal dimension too. Yes, because I think is the collective perspective here is in the center of the research, and at the same time, I want to ask you to answer. Yes, what is the needs, my needs and gains in this project for me and for my community? Yes, and how perhaps can I eliminate the negative results for me? Because sometimes, as some might share with the group, and in my case, for example, this burnout syndrome now is so present in my life. Yes, because sometimes I am so tired to fight, to face the difficulties. No, for example, in my case, to access to justice, to access to policies, etc., etc. And it's so important to establish the limits and personal needs, no, to be carefully with our needs too, no. I don't know if perhaps we can work together now in the groups. But if, for example, somebody should share with the group, how are you feeling about, for example, in terms of supporting research, or how you can support the communities, and I think in many cases you are working alone in your project, but as here we are a community, no? A community of researchers, And it's important to know you are not alone. Yes, it's so important to feel the support of the group and the team of FIMI, etc., etc. Perhaps I want to propose to work some minutes here in the big group, but I want to ask perhaps I don't know, Nukila, do you want to start perhaps sharing your feelings, your ideas, your experience in this part of the designing and implementation of your project?
Okay, I'll try, Angela. So it's about the question, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The questions are a guide, but you can speak freely, okay?
Yeah. For my research, I think the challenge for me will be first approach, how to approach them at the first time, and then how to make it more melting situations, and particularly women, speak to women, I think with different characters, and then I need to also to shape my boundaries as well, what I can do, what I cannot do on my research. I think it's very important as well, and I would like to know as well their boundaries, their do and done, and then what is their the taboo during my research. I really like to hear regarding that, and I'm really enthusiastic because this is the first time an Indigenous woman research with Indigenous community, Indigenous people. I think it's so. I'm so enthusiastic going to the field, and I have already I can define the problems now because I've been I visited this community previously, so this my how do you call it? My mission, that I need to bring the change to them. After, I don't know if after my research, I need to do my research will be impactful to them, not only as a research only, but also impactful to this to the community, because it's not about the hope, but about the how to change, how to change from not good, suffering, discrimination, violence, to be no more violence, no more discriminations, no more patriarchy, at least to eliminate, to reduce the patriarchy culture. So that's my I don't know if I I answered the question, but that is my my hope, for my research uh, regarding my topics. So I would like also, I don't want to see a recommendation is like for me is not really strong enough, but how to also to change the woman, not to change them, I mean how to driven them, to have a better life. For me too, I need to learn something that I never been through in my life. So this a lesson during my research, a good lesson, lesson on my life. So I would like to have that one, Angela, and my sisters.
Wow, so beautiful, so beautiful, so beautiful, because you want to learn, but it's not, it's like a little lesson, no? It's like a to learn, no?
Yeah.
And you have these needs to establish boundaries. I think is so important, yes, to establish boundary as a researcher and as an Indigenous woman researcher. And it's your first time. It's so interesting, no? It's like the first meeting, the first date with this big lesson for your life. It's so exciting, no? And at
Yeah.
the same time, I don't know, for me, the first date is so scary. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nukila. And we are here for you. We are here for you.
So much.
Thank you. I think Nanya and Elder Lorena wants to speak. Perhaps Nanya, you go first.
Sí.
Ayora?
Solo Nay, buenos días Ángela y compañeras,
Good
hermanas.
morning, everyone. Nine, I think she's requesting, she hasn't presented her study. So she's writing in the chat box that in what moment will she be able to present her. She has her presentation ready, but also she understands that you have the agenda. So if we're gonna answer that for her, please.
Ayora, muchas gracias. Yes, Nai. Yes, if you want, we can, I will ask you to present at 9 o'clock. Is okay for you in 30 minutes? And I think is the best moment to your presentation, because I am sure you can enjoy now in this discussion, no? To perhaps to do your presentation, answer at the same time, in a personal way, in terms of a recommendation for your personal support, community support, and the support of this group. Okay, it is okay for you, Nai?
Good morning, teacher, and all my sisters. I am fine. I just returned from the field. Then I'm excited to share my case study to all my sisters and teacher. Yeah, and 9 it's a 7:19 p.m. in Nepal. So yeah, can you provide me the time to present my case study?
Of course, of course. Perfect. Do you want to share? I think you want to share. I give you some space, and now you can share with the group.
Thank you so much. I just take a few time to share my case study because I prepare my presentation in very short time because yesterday I just returned from the field, so I just share my case study. And thank you. I'll just give me a 5 minutes. I'll complete my presentation.
Go.
Okay. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Share screen. Can you see my screen?
Sí, Naina, ahí se ve la pantalla.
Yeah, can I start now? Good morning from Nepal to my teacher and my sister. Today I'm going to present my case study, and the topic of my case study is economic condition of Tamang women, a case study in Ramesar district of Nepal. As you know, my name is Noinagara Tamang. I am from Nepal. And justification of my case study is, first, Tamang women as a part of broader Tamang community in Nepal confront sustainable economic hurdles that impede their progress and well-being. These challenges include limited access to the education, resources, and opportunities, which hinder their economic independence and overall development. Lack of education, resource, and other opportunity, women are always backward in the community. And it is imperative to address the challenges to foster a holistic advancement of the Tamang community by focusing on the economic empowerment of Tamang women. I personally believe that economic empowerment is most powerful if women are economically independent. They can change and they can do more things. So we can create pathway for sustainable development, improve their standard, and promote gender equality within the community. And this case study holds significant relevance in the broader context of Indigenous women's empowerment. By exploring into the specific economic challenges faced by the Tamang women, we gain insight that can inform policies and intervention aimed at addressing the economic disparities among Indigenous women globally. Thus, this research contribute to the broader discourse on Indigenous rights, gender equality, and economic development. And the principal objectives. First, to analyze and improve the economic status of the Tamang women in Ramesab district, empower Tamang women through entrepreneur development initiative, enhance economic independence and promote women, empower Tamang women by helping them start business and become more financially independent, identify a replicable model for enhancing economic empowerment among Indigenous women based on the experience of the Tamang community. And my specific objectives is to study the economic problem faced by Tamang women in Ramesab district, evaluating an effectiveness of entrepreneurship development initiative to improve the economic status of Tamang women. And methodology. This research will take a multidisciplinary approach by blending insight from economic, sociology, culture, and gender study. By doing so, it aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of the economic challenges faced by Tamang women in Ramesab district. This approach allows for a more holistic analysis considering various factors that influence women's economic empowerment. Tool. I want to use mixed method research, combining the qualitative data and quantitative data. So qualitative data collected from semi-structured interview, focus group discussion within the Tamang women community, Tamang women community leader and stakeholders to explore economic challenges and program effectiveness. And quantitative data collected from survey to collect the data on income, resource, and entrepreneurial activities among the Tamang women. And the source of data is I'll collect the primary data from the field, and secondary data will be collected from the published and unpublished document as well as government data. And I also use the intercultural perspective, respect Indigenous knowledge and incorporate community input throughout the research process. And this is the research area. It's a little near from Kathmandu district, and this is a measure in Ramesab district.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to the presenter. I know that you're excited, but can you go a little slower? It's very hard. I am so sorry.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
So I'm talking about my research area. This is little near from Kathmandu district, and Ramesab is a district where majority of the Tamang people are settled, and in Tamang, Magar, Newar, Chetri are there. They are the indigenous people. In the total population is 1,70,302, and in female is 89,478, and male is 80,000 around. So female population is higher than male. I use this data from Central Bureau of Statistics Nepal 2021. So this is my research area. So I select this area because there are lots of Tamang people in this area, and the Tamang women are more backward in that area. So I select this area for my research. And timeline. So April 1 and 8, I am in the field to collect the preliminary research and for rapport building. And 10 to 30, I prepare for research preparation and design. In May, primary and secondary data will be collected. In June, analyze the data and writing. In July, drafting the case study. In August, I'll finalize my paper. And these are the reference. So I got a very less reference for this research. So very less people study about the Tamang women and Tamang community. So this is my reference. And thank you so much. And do you have any question?
Thank you, Nai. Thank you for your presentation. And now I will ask Elder Lorena to do your comments. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Buenos días.
Good morning. Thank you to your sister that has presented your proposal for case study. I feel like this is also a very important topic that has to do with the economy of women, the economic rights of women, and everything that she wants to highlight is that situation of disadvantage and inequality that women have in their access to economy. That's what I understand. But also with the highlight, provide strengthening and empowerment opportunities for women. So I think it's important from that double optic to present your objectives. I feel that also it's important in regards that she analyzes the situation of inequality and how it impacts the economy of women. Some concrete observations would be that I would make are, first of all, suggest that you establish your questions, that you didn't present them to us, a general question and the auxiliary or derivative questions, because that will provide your objectives. You present your objectives, which is the first one is a general objective. And in the drafting, maybe we should identify what is the situation of access of the economic situation of women and empower. And first of all, we would have to analyze the economic situation of the Tamang women and the collective construction of a proposal for their empowerment. Why do I feel that to want to transform this with a study is still not possible? But it is possible to build a proposal for empowerment. That would be my first observation. The second one is in the specific objectives. We have two. Clearly, the first one is, what is the situation, the financial situation and the situation of economic inequality of women? And the next one is to build actions. What I would like to highlight here is that it's so important, the role of women is so important. The first one is that they're within the capitalist financial system, they're completely unempowered. They have no access to workforces, technology, capital. That's evident, and that has a cost. You say it yourself. That weakens their participation, that makes them to be in a situation of vulnerability before any other situation of violence that they might live. So they can even accept any job with an unfair salary or in work conditions that are unfair. On that side, it's important. I would suggest here that you analyze always in your study the structural causes, historical causes that have marked that lack of equality, inequality, that financial inequality of the Tamang women, why that has happened. What are the causes and what consequences it brings for women, for them, for their personal life, for their emotional life, their physical life, for the exercise of their rights. On the other side, I think it's important that you can take advantage of the study to visibilize all the economic, all the economy they bring to their home, from taking care of their children, taking care of education, health, food health, accompany their husbands. I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. They work maybe in agriculture without any extra income. They are work labor, but they're not getting a salary, but they generate economy. How your study can visibilize not just that inequality, but also that invisible proposal that visible what women bring invisibly to the economy, because they're not recognized, even if it's not an income that they receive directly. I would love it if your study can establish that. We don't only think about women. Your study is going to reveal inequality, but also the strength and all the support that women bring that hasn't been registered by local or national authorities. And that's an economy for life that has turned into a substance, an economy of survival. But it is an economy of life because she takes care of health, she takes care of education, she takes care of the growth and development of the animals of her family, she takes care of ecosystem. That's where she's providing a very important and relevant support that isn't recognized or visibilized or has an economic value, because that's not paid. Nobody's going to pay the woman for cooking the food for the children, for washing the clothes, for preparing the clothes of their partners, for tending to the animals, for having their crop grounds, or taking care of their family. And that's a value for life because she's taking care of life. But from a financial or economic system, there's an economic value to that is not recognized. That would be very important for me if you could establish that. On the other side, that there is a specific chapter where you establish what strategies, what organizations of women and what organizational processes exist in regards to the defense of economic rights for women. What strategies do women have to survive? We don't have a permanent job, but we raise animals and we sell in the market. We don't have a permanent employment, but when we take care of the home, but also we weave, we do natural medicine. We somehow provide an initiative of economic survival, so that can be established also in your study. And on the other hand, let's remember that the study also wants to have a proposal, collective proposals, incidents, actions of incidents, local incidents, of course, because when you talk about the problems, I could imagine that the access to land is also an issue. Maybe they don't have inheritance of land, they don't have resources to buy land, they have no working capital, they don't have, if they want to go to work, they don't have the profile or the education to be able to be workers outside of home, because maybe some of them haven't finished the primary school, etc. So they have the load of children. A woman who goes to work, who is she going to delegate taking care of the children? Because their partner still doesn't take on that challenge or that responsibility. So we will have all that information from the study. What are economy of life and what strategies they have for their survival, economic survival, or to demand their rights. And finally, the proposal of incidents. So faced with that problematic and the strength of women, what is a proposal to influence locally in parents and families and husbands so that they can really value and recognize the work of women in the economy for life. And on the other side, on the other hand, so that they can have opportunities for the generation of local employment. So from that regard, or from that optic, we have to have an incidence in families and empower women. Tell them, no, you don't do anything, you're home. No, we have to revalue that work that is just as important and fundamental as any other. And on the other side, the incidence on municipal policies that that are working for the economic empowerment of women, and how can local authorities, the local government from in the area where you work can commit to create a economic policy and create productive impact for women. Thinking of women that don't have to leave their home, but that you generate economy and empowerment processes within their territory with a sense of belonging. That's where I think that we have that challenge, that we have an agenda of political incidents that can really come to life internally in the community, but also in the public policy sphere, beyond the space where the research is going to happen. And that your research doesn't present the women as victims only, but also presents women as beings of empowerment. So not just vulnerable women, but also women, beings that are moving forward. And since our studies want to visualize the strength of the Tamang people and the strength of Indigenous women, I think that's important. That if you speak the local language, if there's something important that you can bring to visualize their society and their beliefs. What does it mean? What does work mean for them? What does health mean for them? What does preparing the food mean to them? What value does these things have? But women say, "Oh, I don't do anything. I don't work. I only tend to my children and my husband." There's a self-devaluation of their work that has an economic value, but that they don't recognize themselves. So your study needs to be
económico. Y entonces cuando hablamos de empoderar, no es solo...
Your study needs to be a tool to bring it visible, to make visible that this work happens. And empowering is not just having an activity that brings financial benefit or gain. It's also recognizing that my work supplies value to life, and that has an economic value, and that maybe the economic or the national economic system doesn't register it, but you need to value what you do, and that's what empowering really is. And also define the variables, the important variables that you will identify in your study, that you're going to provide a focus on from the woman perspective. That's another challenge that we have in our studies.
Yo veo que son como 4 preguntas centrales que yo percibo que podría ser.
I see 4 main questions. I mean, it's just my perception, it's my suggestion, but I can see maybe 4 questions, 4 specific objectives, and 4 chapters. That would be kind of the process. And in regards to the rest, the methodology, you're very clear as to what you want to do, the qualitative and quantitative methodology. You want to have qualitative and quantitative data, and you establish it from a focus of traditional research. I would ask you if it's possible that you recover. I think we need to complement from the intercultural methodology perspective. What principles will you take into consideration beyond what academic research says? Our challenge right now is that we can focus on intercultural research method and its principles, and identifying the main processes of that methodology, and to establish the activities that each phase is going to take. And I know you have to be very specific in your presentation because you don't have all this time, but I think it's important to narrow down what activities you're going to do. I think you can also see the other presentations, or see the presentations again on methodology, and see those presentations again, and maybe you can kind of get ideas of how they can work. Plus, you know, what the other sisters said and about how they're going to introduce intercultural research methods into their own processes and their own research papers. So thank you, motivate you, so that you have a very energetic and process filled with light. And if you think this is pertinent, these recommendations are pertinent, then I would of course ask you to, you know, take them into consideration if that's what you feel. But if not, that's okay. You could continue in the road that you're going. And I hope that we have the information, the study ready by July 15th. And I know that this is just the first step. All of you will continue going into depth of this research, because research doesn't end. There's always questions after questions coming in. Let's all provide some encouragement, and thank you so much.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Lorena, for your recommendations. And I want to propose in the same way of Lorena. Perhaps it's important to have only one general and principal objective, because if you have 3 principal objectives, perhaps it's so difficult to answer, no? 3 principal objectives. And I am sure you will introduce the recommendation of Lorena, and now you can continue with confidence and enjoying the process. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your wonderful comment, and I definitely work on it again. And I want to share one incident.
Okay.
When I'm talking to the women, they have the skill to earn the money. They can waving the dress, and they make alcohol in a home. They can sell in market. But the problem is they make the alcohol in a home, and husband went market to sell the alcohol and bring the gas. So you didn't share to the wife. So this is the problem. They have the skill, but they don't know how to sell, what is the market, and how to earn the money, how to sell their product. So actually, I want to research on that way. But I'm so happy because I got a valuable comment from the teacher. Definitely, I'm working on it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Lorena, ¿su merced quiere hacer algún comentario con relación a lo que
Lorena, would you like to make a comment in regards to what Nai is talking about?
¿Me decía algo, Ángela?
Were you saying something? Yes, do you want to comment on what she just mentioned, Nai just mentioned? Thank you, Nai. I think that with that you share with us, you confirm that your study is not going to be limited to the problem of the violation of economic rights to women, or the lack of access to the economy of women, but all that strength, the ability to weave, the ability to work. I think that's very valuable. And what obstacles that would be a particular specific question of one of the chapters. What obstacles or barriers do women have to develop their economic strategies of the Taman women? First, that women haven't been allowed to go into the community. There's no infrastructure. Two, the husbands will take the product and they stay with the economic resource from the products that they make, that the women make. And that's going to add value to your proposal. But it does confirm that your study must reveal not only the problem, but also the strength and the strategies and how women can provide their help or can provide their support to the caring economy or the economy of care from the Taman women perspective. One thing is what theorists write about. And I know of a writer called Vandana Shivna, and I think Angela has her in one of the presentations. She speaks and establishes how the caring economy and the ecology or the ecology, the care of the ecological aspect is not visible, but it is definitely valuable. So I think that your study could have that perspective. One is the structural causes of the lack of empowerment of women, and the other is the strength, what women can provide, and within that, what possibilities they have and what obstacles they find. And the biggest challenge is to write it from the feeling thinking perspective of the Taman women, from their language. So I think that's a process, welcome, and I think that that's an important topic to visibilize and has a relationship with access to land and other elements, I feel. And finally, how the system can form us or can shape us to leave the house. For our challenge for the economy for life is leaving the benefits of this economic activity in our communities, in our homes, where we live. And it's an economy of not to accumulate, but an economy to live with dignity. So that if I produce a weave, that I have the right to sell it, to enjoy part. I sell my weaving, and in the market there's a shoe, there's a fruit that I want to buy, and I can do that. But if it's the husband that does it, I'm never going to enjoy the shoes that I wanted, or the fruits, or the ice cream, or be able to know that more than money, that I have the earnings of what I worked, of what I did of my work. So I think it's a beautiful research, but just kind of give it that focus. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I think Lukila has a comment for you. Lukila?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Naina, for your great presentations, and congratulations for your next effort regarding your research. I just want to ask you, is this Tamang woman, they know about their potential resources in their areas? For instance, forestry, fishery, that make them proud. So it can be an income for them in terms of their economic, I don't know, economic resources, yeah, economic strengthening. And then my second question is, the government or the policy introduced about the small and medium enterprises, instead of they have their own indigenous knowledge, indigenous economic, typical of indigenous economic. I don't know how to say that one. But during your first research, is that did you find any contribution or intervention from the government? While you found as well that these Tamang women, they have their own economic, indigenous typical economic. I don't know how to the terminology on this. That maybe you can answer that. Thank you so much, Naina.
Okay, thank you so much, Nukila. Indigenous women are more attached to the forest and nature. Not only women, and male and women both are attached to the nature. And for women, they collect the firewood from the forest and made alcohol in their home. This is their major source of economy. But the problem is they made alcohol in a home, and husband went market to sell that product and on the money. So the skill is within a women, but they don't have economic power. Yeah, and if we empower them, so they made themselves and sell themselves, is a more beneficial for a women. So that is my research. And second question, government also intervened nowadays because local government makes a policy that women and male can get equal wages while they are working. And they provide some market to sell their product. Uh, yeah, government also trying to help. Yeah. I don't know, can I answer your question or not?
Thank you, Nana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naya.
Tal vez, perdonen que intervenga. Aquí hay otro importante aporte que sería identificar las potencialidades económicas locales.
Here's an important opportunity to identify the local financial opportunities or financial economic opportunities that could promote that empowerment, which is what Nukila is saying, that your study can bring to light those economic potentials. Would be in the forest, could be the knowledge of women, could be in the production of any kind of potential, economic potential, and what communities and territories does the Tamang area have that can provide to empower, to have economic empowerment, or that already exists and that women are using. That's one. And the other element that she establishes is maybe, and that maybe comes out in your research, what does the state provide? What support do they provide for the economic empowerment of women? Is there a ministry that's specific? Is there a specific program that works the empowerment of women? Or you're going to say there is no political, economic policies for women, there's an absence of this. But for that, we have to have the question to see if we have it. And of course, in your incidence proposal, you're going to do a mapping. What local actors do we have to go to? Because the subject of economic empowerment happens from the inside. And from the other side, from one perspective, it comes from us, but there's also a responsibility from the government to implement policies to help women and from the rights of Indigenous women. That's another point that when you do the incidence plan, it's going to come up as well, when you have that mapping of actors. But we have to think about it. And maybe now you don't have the information, but that's the research of the information, because you need to have that come to light. Thank you, Nai, and let's move forward.
Thank you, Lorena, Nukila.
Thank you so much.
Hi. Okay. We will continue with the session. Can you see my screen?
Sí la vemos.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Well, here I want to propose the activity number 3 to agree on the characteristics and methodologies of your projects. And here for Nai and for everyone, I have this video. Is a conference of Vandana Shiva. This interesting and important leader and indigenous research from Asia. And she's the mother of the ecofeminism in the world. No, I think she could be very interesting for the projects from Asia and in general from everybody. Okay. Before the work in the groups, I want to share with you an interesting approach is the idea of atlas, no? How we can build together an atlas of methodologies. And to begin, I want to share some of our work in my university. Here, using body mapping, pictures, storytelling, life stories, poems, drawing, etc. Yes. I want to share some elements of the context and the big project where I use these methodologies. Here, this is an example of an atlas, a methodological atlas, where we put together all these results. This work have been implemented with indigenous women ex-combatants from the guerrilla of FARC here in Colombia after the peace accord agreement. These women had the challenge to become civilians, no? Because during most of 25 years, they have been warriors, no? And the transition between war to peace have been so difficult for her, and specifically the challenge to come back to their communities, to their indigenous communities. We worked with these women during 2 years in 2 departments near to Jenilin, in the Guajira region and in the Cesar region. And at the beginning, it was so difficult to establish confidence between the participants and our team. And to begin, we use body mapping. Here, as we can see, in the section of body mapping, we can see the tension, no, between in some body mapping. You see, for example, in the right side, a body it's so difficult and sad, no? This experience, this corporeal experience. In the case of Solange, this is the body of Solange. Can you see the purse? The middle of the body is like a warrior body, and the other side is a civilian body. And I think this is an expression of the feeling and experience of this woman in this period, no, in between 2 worlds, and without conditions, economical resources, or political security. The second body mapping is the body of Marta's, and it's like a transgender body, no, because It's like her skin is the skin of a warrior, but she has a civilian expression, no, with the clothes. We have at the same time here in the left side the image and the corporal image of Martas from Wiwa people, and she's a warrior. No, she's a warrior. For her, he didn't. He wasn't. He didn't accept the peace accord agreement, and for her to come back to civilian life was a loss. No, she lost her family of warriors, the group of the guerrillas, etc., etc. Some of the women didn't write, and in this case, we propose couples. For example, somebody wrote the story, the life story, and somebody, for example, proposed a picture. I think it's a good experience to not put in the center the writing perspective, no, because sometimes it could be like an exclusion, no, to put in the center the writing exercise. Okay, here we have another example for these women. It was so important to, for example, to identify her leader, her historical leader. It was so difficult for us because in my country, this guerrilla had been one of the most incredible perpetrators of crimes against humanity. And it was, I want to share with the group this example because it was so painful for me and for my team to listen these stories because we were dealing with our fears, with our wounds and painful memories, and at the same time we were with this challenge to be respectful, but at the same time to establish boundaries, as Nukila said, because as a research team for us, the civilian values and the rejection of violence was the biggest challenge, no, with these women. Here I want to share, for example, some examples about social cartography. Yes, to hear one of the ex-commanders, Erika. She was the ex-commander for 25 years of this front. For example, for this woman, the social cartography and to paint, to draw the territory, the relations, here is an example of the patriotic plan and the plan of the army from Colombia to fight to this front, and it was one of the tools to talk about painful histories. Here we have another kinds of examples about, for example, everyday life. In the right side, we have some example of the everyday life of these women, cooking, and in the left side, we have, for example, a history and experience, a history about the clothes, the dresses, and the histories using this metaphor, no? And I think perhaps it could be interesting in a NAI project and in everybody project to choose an object and an example of cultural practices or political practices and use drawings, poems, etc. No. Here it's an example of the drawing of Elena's story. I want to share with the group this material because it was so difficult for me, no? Sometimes it's so difficult for us as researchers to hear, for example, in this case, of Elena's story, it was the narrative about the massacre of her family by paramilitary groups. And this massacre was I think, the foundation and the motivation to her to join the guerrillas, FARC. And for her, I think it was interesting to make a drawing about this experience and the forced displacement of her family and her joint experience to the guerrilla of FARC. Yes, in this time, Elena doesn't have the skills to write. After the peace agreement, she wrote her story live, but at this moment, the painting experience and drawing was important for her. And here I have some examples of the atlas built with different communities in my country. In the first section, we have here in the left side a cartography in the Amazonian region and near in the border with Peru and Brazil. And this drawing is emphasizing about the everyday life of Indigenous Witoto women in this region, the traditional cooking practice, agricultural practices, the relation between mother and children as an expression of Indigenous women education inside the community. And it was so important and beautiful for her, no? For perhaps in this case, it was the first time that she could drawing her the importance of her practice and the reproduction of the culture, no? And she proposed a title, a beautiful title. I know the picture is not very well, it's not the best, but she proposed this title, Indigenous Women and everyday work. And she proposed the title in Witoto language and in Spanish language. And for her, it was so important, no, to think of herself as a researcher, no, as an Indigenous women researcher. I think I shared this second body map with the group in my first section. This is a very sorry? Sorry? Okay. This body mapping is about violence, sexual violence, and illness as cancer and, for example, pregnancies, forced pregnancies, abortions. That is a very hard and and painful body painting. And at the same time, I think the comments of Lorena are so important because perhaps if I, I will propose again this exercise, I will ask the participant to tell some histories and perhaps to draw in her body her possibilities, no, to act, to the to show in her painting and body painting emotion, positive emotions and resilience, no? I think the comments of Elder Lorena is so important because it's like a polarity, no, between pain and hope, and perhaps this is a good example to invite the participants to think holistical, a holistical perspective. In the right side, we have a picture of here of Fatima Valencia. Fatima Valencia is a healer from the Amazonian region. And it's interesting because when I asked Fatima to paint her body, he painted this map using the coca plant. One of the most important practice from Amazonian region is the use of a coca plant to communicate with the ancestors and with the spirits and the fathers and the mothers, the spiritual mothers and fathers from this territory. And it's important here to see how she's drawing, no, the conception of body, land, territory as a continuum between human body, the territory, and the relation between human body, people, communities, and territory. We have too the picture and the body mapping of Virgelina Gomez from Nonuyo people and the Nonuyo community. And here, for example, Elder Virgelina paint her own body, emphasizing in the traditional dress and the practice, the cultural practice to paint the body with medicinal plants and herbs. And it was a beautiful and interesting practice to revitalize this kind of practice. And here in the center, we have some narratives about knots and the use of traditional cooking and the role of traditional cooking in the Indigenous women political process and cultural process. And I think it could be an interesting idea for you. And the last picture is the body painting of an Indigenous woman from Kansa and Inga peoples in the Amazonian region too. And she's here she emphasized in the cultural practice with this drawing, no, and the principal symbols of fertility, etc. Okay, here I have another kind of examples. For example, in the middle we have this beautiful painting and social cartography about one of the most delicious cooking menu in the Amazonian region. And here is this sample. We can see we can say, for example, oh, is not really so important, but this is the foundation of the cultural practice and indigenous women cultural resistance in the Amazonian region against the robber genocide in my country, because they preserved this cultural and cooking practice during more than 2,000 years, and the most incredible crimes against indigenous women in this region. We have two, for example, in the right side, the picture, the drawing of the sacred temple, and the role of indigenous women as elders and maloqueras. The name of this temple is Maloca, and the relation with the ancestors of and the spiritual fathers and mothers of this territory. And you can, it's only an idea of how you can use this incredible tool. Okay, I want to ask you, you have some comments of questions before the next section. No comments, no questions, no anecdotes. Viviane? Go on, Viviane, welcome.
Thank you, teacher. So I have a question. I would like to use one of your methodology, that is body mapping, in my research. So I'm requesting that you help me, give me one example in which I can use body mapping. My research topic is on environmental and social impacts or socioeconomic impacts of a cement industry. Maybe you can just explain to me one instance that I can use body mapping.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, wonderful. Yes, I think, for example, you can use a body mapping or social cartography, asking, for example, the participants if they can, for example, paint the territory before the cement industry, and perhaps after the cement industry, and to invite the participant, for example, to paint and to draw the impacts in the bodies, for example, and the impacts in the territory. I think you can identify the impacts using this methodology by drawing, yes? And it's interesting because this methodology is open from everybody. Yes, you can invite, for example, children, you can invite women, leaders. Yes, you can have an intergenerational approach. You can, for example, propose to, if you want, it is possible to work with groups. I don't know, for example, groups of children, or you can propose to a big cartography. Yes, for example, here we see a little, because my screen is a little screen, but sometimes we propose big cartographies and big and so many people can participate. You can be so creative, yes. You can propose small pages or biggest cartographies, and sometimes we use theater too, yes. For example, and it's important to establish, because sometimes it's so painful, no, to talk about the impacts. You can invite, for example, the participants. It's important for me, I don't know, sometime in these serious topics and painful topics, I introduce games, no, and when for me is my character, no, and my my experience as a research, when I am talking about painful things, it is important to open the questions, and after to think about a solution or a recommendation, to reconnect with resilience and agency and hope, no? Because perhaps the participant should be sad after seeing the impacts, no? But if you propose hope after, and I think to have a reflection and to promote a reflection, a collective reflection about how can do something to transform this situation could be interesting. Okay, I think Lorena has a comment, and after Doman. Thank you, Lorena. Go.
Ahí la idea sería que cuando aplicamos, por
Here I
ejemplo,
would say that when you apply the example, the cartology in the camp, in the fields, and for the impact on the body, in mind, body, and spirit, and mental health, and physical health, and spiritual health, then I will use the body mapping. Just to like add to what the comments on the other side. Ask Angela at least a basic guide on how to apply both cartography and the body mapping as well. So what would be the procedure in terms of what elements would you be needing? Because it's very useful for the studies. Another element to take into account is when you see this process, it's a workshop that you're going to be developing. So perhaps after you see the before and after and the now, you have two moments, the before, the now, in the cartography and the body mapping. And then you're also going to have what's coming, what's next. If we're not doing anything, what's happening will be the same, or even go deeper, both in the impact in the territory, Mother Nature, and the body. And also, we can also state if we do something, we do take actions, how would we change with the cartography? How can we change the territory? What changes can we have in my body as well? And also, what actions do I need to be taking? And then I could take a path with actions. Even the workshop can give us these four elements: the before, the impacts, how deep we can get, and what we want to achieve, and what we want to change, and how we can change some of the territory, and then what actions we can take. And you can see the four moments right there. And there you can take, perhaps you don't want to go, I don't want to say that, go too deep because Angela has other things to discuss, but the problem tree there. Let's talk about the problem tree. What are the causes of the environmental impact, the violence, the degradation of the soil, food security, the issue with the economic situation for women, with the access to land. That will be the bottom of the tree. And then go into the roots, and the causes. What effects does this have in the branches? And then it will be creatively and naturally will come up. And then we took it from a tree problem to execution problem. How are we going to change the root? How we're going to change the problems and what are the fruits that we're going to be expecting. So it can be through a workshop in different ways. And also, when you talk topics that are very harmful and painful, you could also be thinking in some exercises, energetic exercises like dancing, music, games that are going to help us release this, whatever happens in the territory, because the pollution, invasion, and degradation and violence are all structural issues. And we need to find ways on how to deal with them, how to free some tension from there. So some breathing exercises, touch the soil, to say that this doesn't belong to me, shake your body. Many ways to do this. Because I do feel that our participation, besides analyzing the problem and looking at the issue, and also thinking as well, um, um, when the problem comes along, what are we looking at? It's not what we're going to do, but what are we doing right now to face that issue? So we have the topic of resilience and the community, the resilience the community has. So you can draw this. We can do reforestation. We're organizing there's an agreement in the community to discuss different things that we were not going to have more companies coming in. There's a proposal to restore, and here I am talking about on the topic that we're discussing about what are we going to be doing? What are we doing right now? How are we facing the issue? Because the communities are never with their arms crossed, just praying or whatever. They take actions. They have resilience. And what can we do to transform and avoid these practices to keep happening? That's how I see it. And that's like a workshop happening there within our process. Okay? Thank you, Angela, and thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. And that's something that we wanted to propose with Mayra Lorena that in Tanzania, she could give us a workshop between ourselves, among ourselves, for our body, for earth, body, land, and to keep that memory. Keep that memory as a group. I'm already sad that in July we won't be seeing each other anymore, but that's also a way of honoring the experience as well. Thank you. Doman, do you want to say something?
Yes, hello. Hello.
Hello. Welcome, Doma.
Hello. Is my
Hello.
voice coming in?
Yes, no, it's perfect.
Yeah, is my voice coming in? Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I think I've in my proposal I have outlined the methodology and also the steps, but I'm beginning to feel the challenge of the actual facilitation of the workshops. Like there's a challenge um of how to facilitate the articulation of the pain without getting stuck with that pain. Especially there seems to be a practice, or there seems to be an adopted practice of not talking about pain and not talking about suffering. But if I understand it correctly, it is important to articulate the history of the pain and the silencing, so that we can also articulate clearly how to use our strengths, and how to or so that we can also express or clarify steps of moving forward. uh I'm as I listen to what Angela was sharing uh about the women transforming, who are formerly into the armed struggle and transforming. It's really challenging to do this also basically alone because yes, it's different. While there are women who have been talking about women empowerment, it often ended with the anger, expression of anger. So it's more tension and conflict. But I think this time we would like to also uh uh like I would like to experiment on non-violent communication, but still clearly speaking about the pain and violence. And but really, I think the trick is to move forward, to transcend that pain and not be stuck in that pain and anger. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the challenge that I see. Thank
Wow.
you.
Okay, wow. Yes, you put in the center the tensions, no, because I when I am listening to you, I want to share like emotions, no? Emotions are like a circle, okay? And at the beginning, in my case, I was so afraid when somebody was crying, for example, or angry, yes, because I am so scared about my own angry and sadness. And as a researcher, I was oh no, go on, move on, move on. I think I know it is painful, but no, be happy, be resilient. And with the time, I understand for many of the participants, it was perhaps the first opportunity to talk about her angry, her sadness, and now I am if you want more confident in my skills to hear, yes, to hear. I think the process is very different in each participant, and you need to hear deeply the need of each participant. Yes, because sometimes for I don't know, I am thinking about Edilma, no? Edilma is my one of the most important leaders that with I am working now, and for Edilma is so important to cry, to express her angry, her sadness, yes. But in the case of Anairis, the other leader of this case, she's for her the silence is important. For her the vehicle is the traditional and spiritual work, and I need to be carefully, yes, and I need to listen very deeply and carefully the needs of the participants and my own needs. Yes, it's a difficult exercise, the man and everyone. No, but I want to propose you to listen. No, to listen. Sometimes it's so important only to be present, a deep presence. No, a deep listening, and the emotions has I think domain is not here. Yes, but the emotion is like it's like a vibe, no? The emotion, even if the emotion is very high in the moment, after she's going to, yes, to do the pathway, no? And I think we are like a witness of this process of the participant. But I agree with the man. For many years, I was so scared to hear painful stories and painful memories because I was afraid of my own memories, no? Of my own pain. And I think perhaps before give the space, the floor to Elder Lorena, I think dance and painting, for example, these artistic expression from arts after the Second War, the Second World War, was so important, no, for survivors of crimes against humanity, because when you are painting, when you are singing, when you are dancing, or when you are using poems, you are working about trauma, yes, but it's not like a narrative, because when we are talking is the traditional approach of psychology and psychiatry and etc. etc. But we can work in a indirect pathway, and we can go very deep, being carefully and respectful of our own wounds and the wounds of the participants. And yes, I want to propose here dance movement therapy, for example, is so powerful, yes, because we are working directly with the body, yes, and is not so extractivism perspective as, for example, interviews, no, or ethnography, or focus groups, because the participants choose if she wants to go deeper or she wants to participate. Yes, she can choose. But I know the man. I don't have an answer. I can share with you and the group my experience, and I think it's a wonderful possibility to be with the witness of, as a researcher, the witness of the resilience and the actions of the participants, and at the same time to be the witness of her pain, and to be with the participants as a support, not to transform the world. No, I think it's very important to know we are only a group of researchers, okay? But it's so important to be present, no? To hear deeply the empathetical dimension of our research, and at the same time to be conscious of my needs to survive, no? To survive the experience. Because if I am more sad than the participant, more in crisis than the participant, I think it's not a good idea. Yes, the tension between to be present and to be with me, no? It's like a dance. Lorena, go on, please.
Sí, gracias,
Thank
Ángela.
you, Angela. I feel that it's very important with this, with talking the part of researching intercultural research from its healing, because the fact of putting words, drawings, movements to what we're living and what I'm keeping, whether it's the pollution, whether it's economic reasons, whether it's because we don't have the land or violence or depredation, because the topics that we're focusing on, or not having access to education, or because of health issues or food security, well, this is painful. It hurts the soul, it hurts the body, it hurts the energy of people and the community as well. And when we look into drawings or the cartography or body mapping or a story, it's going to move. It's going to move us. And it's very important that when we do research, it's healing in that process because it's going to let things come out. And that's the difference between our researchers, of our type of researcher. Even the research doesn't, you can't connect, you're the researcher. But no, in our case, we can connect because our territory, our body, our human being, this has happened to us. And if it has to happen, we're sisters. And the thinking of this process and living in this process, how do I do? How do I contain this pain? I have to release it. And then we have to do some exercises. We talk about shaking, inhaling and exhaling through our both, inhale through our mouth and inhale through our nose, exhale through our mouth. And when we're doing this type of exercise, we start releasing. Let's do this exercise together. Right now, let's start moving our body, move your shoulders back, and start releasing that pain and that anger, and release it. And we start shaking our arms, let's start shaking for our hands, reaching for the heart of the earth, the heart of the sky, the wind, and then a release. And you can use the exercise that we're doing from our own town, so it's just water. A little pot of water where everyone's going to wash their hands and then release. And that water could have plant as well. Some herbs, some aromatic herbs, such as the ones that we use in our town. It could be chamomile, it could be just a live herbs that have a scent. And you wash yourself, and that's going to be passing this. If it's in a circle, a collective circle, we can all share. But if just one person, we can just do something more direct. And after that, if you want another pot of water, and just spray people among each other. Just take some water and then just like put water on them, spray water on them, spray water on myself, and awake that part. And it's a celebration. And then to close, we can have, if you have, I mean, you have to, I'm telling you because I've done it. You take the water prepared, you got the chamomile or some type of tea that you can know, even in my count, if somebody dies, we already know that we have to take rula, but we have to take leaves, or we take tilo, which are just different type of herbs that are used to calm ourselves. And when allow me to be calm in the moment. And the whole process is not to close a process, but it's just to share in the research. How can we use it? And that's the difference with other processes. I drink the water, I inhale, I'll take the hand. And when we have this space, there's a big space, or depending where you are, we can have, let's go on the floor. Let's put our floor in the land, in our hands, and let's start connecting with the energy of the land. We do that, we finish taking, and then we do this again. And then go to the other moment of your workshop. And then what did you do? Were you hurt? Would you stay with the pain, with the pollution? What did you do? Because you're here, you're alive. I'm here, I can touch myself, I have the body, I see the color in my face, I have energy, I have life. Let's remind people, we are alive. That happened 10 years ago. We're here now. That happened 1 year ago, but here we are now. What did you do to be here, to reburn, to resurrect? So tell me your story, and we talk about resilience. You can draw that, you can paint it, you can do it through a dance, you can tell a narrative. Okay? So whatever, that depends on you, on what you're planning on doing. And from there we go from the pain and the anger and the fear to say, you know what, I wasn't a victim anymore. I became a survivor of the pollution, of not going to school, of not having economic resources, of not having land, etc., etc., etc. And I was able to overcome it. And from there, I can see from the strategy, as a woman, as a Tamago woman, as a They teach you, I mean, how did you live this as a town? And there I go to that moment as well. So, so this is how I do it in a training or an interview. We're able to do that. How did you feel? What happened? Oh, you're doing this system we want to build. So let's talk about even myself. If it's a collective workshop, what would suggest to put the element in the center, water, fruit, flowers, scent, and everyone sitting around it in the circle of life. So they can put fire. It depends on what you're doing under the cost condition. So put elements that are going to give us life. And from those elements, let's draw it. Let's draw the moment. If it's an interview, in that space with the person, I put a glass of water, some flowers, water for the people I want to dialogue with. Make it friendly. Make it feel home and talk about that connection. And in that way, that's just a suggestion. I feel that this is what we're talking. This is the thing after a session, a coordinated session or something in July, where we can share some of those things that we did in the workshop in July. We're going to be sharing prospects of collective healing, of self-care, which is something else that we want to discuss because these are other more ideas that we're taking towards those meetings, that we can have that energy. But I love it when you're saying that's the whole point of the research. You're going to awaken. Because if research came to my house and said, Lorena, I want to talk to you about how did you see the research? Yeah, he did the interview, he left. And if it's in distance or virtually, what do you mean? How would I feel? She released everything. I got the research, I got the information that they wanted. They got the PhD, the master's, whatever. But for me, at the group of efforts, they just loot us. They take the information from us, but how are we? So that's the biggest challenge that we have. That we need to awaken, that we live life. That we go somewhere, let's live life, let's live strength. Because the women in the community and the youth and the grandmother, they say, I'm standing. I was not there, underground. I'm weaving, I'm recycling, I'm doing this, and that. And I'm not there. Because the issue is still there. That's why I'm going to have incidents. That's why I'm going to do a concrete action with our proposals. And that's the whole point of proposals. That's why they're fundamental for the case studies. Thank you, Angela.
No, Mayora, nunca pida perdón. Nunca pida perdón
No need to ask for forgiveness. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. That's the whole idea. Thank you very much. All right. I would like to share.
Creo que tienes el micrófono abierto, Fimi. Okay. Well, I want to share. I prepared a guide for the group, but I think I need to work more because I was thinking only about body mapping in an individual perspective. And I think it's a very good idea, Elder Lorena, to introduce more specific ideas, no? But if you want to, you can check the guide. I have a guide in the Moodle for each section. Okay. Here I have an example. For example, about some objective and questions that it is important before to propose the workshop to think, oh, okay, this methodology should help me to answer this section of my principal objective, or I want to use this methodology to answer a specific objective and then specific questions. Yes. Here, for example, I used with my team body mapping tool. The objective was to recall and to revitalize the ex-combatants' economic, cultural, and productive skills during this period of reincorporation. And for example, I share with Maria before the workshop my objective and the questions. Yes, in this case, the questions was how we can revitalize the competence, economic, cultural, and productive skills. No, but Maria and Petra, one of the two participants, proposed their own questions. Yes, for example, Maria, for her, it was important to think about how can I present the stories of experience of ex-combatants women from this region in a book. For example, for her, she wants to use this methodology to promote the life stories of the ex-combatants, no? And for Petra, for example, she proposed these questions. What kinds of tools could I propose to revitalize and present the culture of Indigenous ex-combatant women in a way that contrasts with the media's version of the guerrilla war? Yes, for her, it was this question was so important, and perhaps you can think before the activity to propose what kind of question could be important for the participant, no? Because the participant aren't only a participant, they are co-creators of your projects, no? And in this sense, they should propose questions. They should, for example, have an important idea and to told you, oh yes, I like to do a cartography, and perhaps I want to introduce a dance. Yes, I think this is an interesting thing. Here I have my research methodological atlas, yes, and I want to share with the group this. The title of this methodological approach is a kaleidoscopic mix of diverse methodologies. I don't know if you know in your countries this game like a kaleidoscopic to see different forms, no, with the light. I think a methodology is like a kaleidoscopic game. No, you can mix, you can share, you can choose, and you can play. For me, methodology is like a incredible game to understand and to co-create with my allies. Okay, for example, I use, because I work in a university, it's for me, I need to use traditional methodologies, like, for example, in number one, participatory observation, meetings with, for example, the participants, ethnography, etc. But at the same time, for me, my really for me, the most incredible tools are the participatory and intercultural methodologies. And for example, I am inventing every day. I am thinking, oh, I want to do this workshop. I want to propose these encounters, intercultural encounters. And for example, in this column, in this file, you can see, for example, you can propose a body mapping workshop, for example, an atlas, for example, an autobiographical workshop, and I use a lot of memory albums and pictures because, as Lorena told us, researchers went to communities and take pictures, but the people never had the opportunity to be their own photographers and to choose how you want to do pictures, and for me, photography, but not as I am the photographer, but to move spaces to take pictures and to build together memory albums is a good opportunity. I love and I like a word circle encounters. And I am in the same time, if you want, dealing with traditional perspective, methodological, because I am a researcher and I am working in a university, and I think it's important to do this deconstruction exercise inside the institutions, no? And sometimes it's important, for example, if you are working with the international cooperation or the grants of academical grants, it's important to use the language, even if inside the notion, for example, of fieldwork, because I am so sad about this notion of fieldwork, because it's not a fieldwork, it's the life of the people, is the community, yes, and not a fieldwork, is the most important human encounter and the encounter with the territory. But perhaps for international cooperation, the notion is fieldwork. We can deal with the use of the notion of fieldwork, but inside the notion, you can do what do you want, and if it's possible to change the notion, is important, not because you are not an object, you are my sisters, you are my allies, you are not a fieldwork or an object. No, I think we need to deconstruct this kind of conception. Well, here I want to share, for example, how we can, after the workshop, analyze or be in touch with this experience, no? Corporeal experience, embodiment experience. For me, for example, these maps, these body mapping are it's so touching and moving for me, because it's the body of my allies, okay, and the co-creators, and for example, I want to understand every single part of the map. Here, for example, the border in the first picture, and in the first the body map of Solange, because for example, I saw how the type of dress, for example, of the objects and the accessories are symbols of the experience of these women. For example, here we can see how the military uniforms compose of camouflage pants, and the colors, no, of the how they are talking using pink color or green color, no, it's the question of the symbols in between these two worlds. For example, she used objects and accessories like rifles, and at the same time the purse, no? For her, it's this moment of what I am, what am I? I am a warrior, I am a woman, I am a princess. Yes, I want to be in a civilian life, but at the same time, it was so difficult and important to her to talk about these objects and accessories and the colors, no, the colors. They, for example, evoked different emotions, no? Positive emotions, like, for example, in her head, she talked about love, resilience to be in this transition moment, optimism to be a civilian, strength and self-determination. It was so beautiful to to talk about these emotions, but at the same time, for example, in the sexual and reproductive apparatus, she was talking about pleasure and self-determination, because in the FARC guerrillas, they have a code and laws about sexuality, about abortions, etc. And for her, she evoked these positive emotions about sexuality and healing, yes. But at the same time, in her head, she was talking about emotions and negative experiences as, for example, anguish, fear, psychological violence and discriminations as Indigenous women, and as Indigenous women ex-combatant, and as Indigenous women ex-combatant after the peace agreement accords. Yes, and she, for example, in her sexual and reproductive apparatus, she talk about pain, difficulties facing everyday life, for example, during hiking. And she was talking about, for example, uncertainty, anguish. She talked a lot about she's a gastric tube and her emotions here about fear, anguish, and pain. No, this is a simple example of how you can, after the workshop, to understand a little more. And I think this is a simple example, but if you have I don't know, 20 body mapping, to social cartography, you can do a very deeper analyze and to think and identify possibilities to transform this experience, no? Not only by your own, but in a co-creation exercise, okay? I want to propose for the next session this exercise. Yes, if each participant should have a reflection about how do you think you can propose a workshop or an exercise using body mapping or social cartography or arts or singing, dancing, as you want. You can choose everything as you want. And perhaps if it is possible, it is not mandatory, but if it's possible, you can, for example, propose a short video to share with the group, showing, for example, the place or the possibilities as the moments of the workshop. Yes, it is important perhaps to think as the first session when everybody is scary, because sharing this kind of thing is a little scary, and how we can, for example, deal with this emotion. A little exercise to welcome the participants in the middle of the workshop. It is important to think about what is my objective, no? And how this workshop should be related to my project, and to think about the final section and the closure, no? Because after this experience, we have a lot of emotions and a lot of ideas. Some of these ideas are beautiful ideas, and others are perhaps painful and negative emotion that we need to propose. Yes, a closure of the exercise. I don't know if before the break, or perhaps we can do because Elder Lorena, we have Fatima. The last section, Fatima did that. It was so difficult to her to understand your comment because her signal was badly. And perhaps she asked me to have a moment here to have your comments today. But perhaps I think we can do the break and we can come back after and talk a little more about Fatima's project. Yes, it is okay for everybody? Okay, well, see you after the...
Yes,
Perdón,
thank you so
Ángela,
much.
em,
All right, thank you.
me recuerdo que hicimos una retroalimentación
We already gave them feedback with Fatima,
Sino que no oía, Mayora. No, ella no pudo oír.
but she never heard the whole thing, the second part where you mentioned, no.
Hablamos
No,
muy
I'm
bien
sorry.
nosotras, pero
We spoke very delicious, many good things, but I feel that I don't have I have to find myself again with the project. If you can give me the document for Fatima right now, so I can look at it over the break, because there were so many things, and that day I didn't have notes. I didn't take any notes because I wasn't here. I was in movement, so I wasn't able to take any action.
le propongo algo. Es que ella quiere,
But
¿cierto?
she
Fatima
wants,
quiere
Fatima, she wants to listen to you.
Entonces se me ocurre que podemos pedirle
So
a
I'm thinking that perhaps you can, Fatima, to do a summary of her presentation. No, send me the presentation, and if somebody can translate it for me, or with the basis, so that she can present right now a summary.
porque la traducimos y todo, ella está 700. Sí, I think Fatima wants to
I think Fatima wants to listen to you. She's very encouraged, and she wants to listen to. She wants to make the corrections. So since we have the signal that is working properly right now, can that be okay? All right. Let's take a break now. Take a minute break.
Please, can she do the correction on the project itself and send to me?
Okay, Fatima, yes, we are going
Hello?
to, yes, we are going to talk about your project after the break, okay? No?
Yeah, I was suggesting that if she can do the correction on the project like what you did the last time, so that I can easily see.
Okay, perfect. We have 10 minutes of break.
That's what I was like suggesting.
Okay. Thank you, Fatima. See you in 10 minutes, okay? Bueno, mi querida Lorena.
Hello, Lorena.
Are you ready to present a brief abstract of your project, and after we can have the comments of Elder Lorena?
Pido la palabra. Recuerdo que Fátima era el tema de acceso a la educación, ¿verdad? Perfecto. Entonces sí tengo claras las, bueno, espero más claras las ideas para aprovechar el tiempo. Solo quiero
Disculpe,
pedirle a...
estamos escuchando la
Fátima.
interpretación de inglés con el español.
Sí, así es. Sí es. Gracias.
We have everything clear, and if Fatima is ready, so that she can hear, because I have my ideas very clear. I know what the project is about. It's about access to education. Because if not, we're going to end up in the same, talking about the same information. Something else that I was thinking about is, because we got the recording, Fatima can also see the recording again. It's the last part at the end of the session of the presentation. I can do it, but I want to know if you're here. Fatima, can you hear us, Fatima? I'm going to write to her.
Yes, I'm getting you.
Perfect. Listo, Mayor.
Muy bien. Gracias,
Okay. Thank you, Fatima. So we're going to start first. Thank you for the importance that our feedback has, and recognizing the research that you're going to do with the case study that is about the access to women have to education. I know that this was the idea, and I know that you saw within your objectives, first of all, you established to identify what are the impacts that the access to education has for women, and on the other side, on the other hand, see what proposals we can build. So I was saying in the first hand that we can define the general objective clearly established, and that what I didn't observe were the questions, not the main question or the auxiliary questions, because these are key in order to be able to do the objectives. So my suggestion is define your main question. To that main question, you extract the other questions. From this education, from this you can to a perspective that's structural, so that you don't have, so you don't say that it's parents or the community, because these are structural causes or historical causes that have marked the access to education on one side. And on the other side, what are those first causes and the impact that it has in the life of women, social, economic, cultural impacts in terms of their participation, so that in the first chapter, you can address that part. And another aspect is that it's not just seeing the problem, but seeing what is education for women and establishing education from a holistic perspective. We were saying that education is not just access to formal education, but also there's also education or values and principles and ways of life that are also transmitted through the culture of peoples that you can rescue in your studies, that part, a perspective of a holistic education, and how is this education as Indigenous women lived in that territory where you're going to carry out your research, your case study, and also see how women are moving in this sphere and how they're moving into a system, the formal education system that provides no access because it's inaccessible. Culturally, it's not pertinent because it presents us an educational model that is colonialist, that strips us of our identities and our knowledge, that makes us dependent and say, okay, well, if she graduated as a teacher, you have to leave. And it says that there are no sources of education in our community. So from that perspective, that education is the state education, the official education. But on the other hand, there's the education of the people, is a holistic education that looks to empower and generate people. So to carry out that analysis, I was proposing for you that in your study, you could have that educational proposal for life and from people, and how that education can strengthen and empower women of their identities, of their values, and of their being, the strength that women have, but also that it could carry some patriarchal education where they encourage to strip women of their independence. So to have that education, that holistic education from a people's perspectives, and what does it represent for women, whether their own education and the state education that the educational system offers. And then we were saying, with the relation that Dunan was saying, there are youth that are in that road where they're saying, should I bet for the official education or for education that is offered by the system? And we were saying we can't stay in that position. The commitment is that even if we have to migrate because university education is not accessible to the communities, that implies to migrate. But to migrate, what do I go with? Do I go unempowered and have no principles? Or do I live in the culture of life, defense of life, as part of a system? I know the values and the principles, so it is important. Education is important. Our own education is important, so that even if I leave my territory and my people, I can go with that tool. And even if I live racism and discrimination, that's not going to weaken me, and it's not going to make me feel bad as an Indigenous person or an originary person. I take tools to learn from that system what gives me life, and what doesn't, then I don't take it into consideration. That's the biggest challenge that we have in terms of education, especially from women's perspective. And that's an element that we mentioned. And so speaking about having a critical look to the education that we want women to have, and it's a colonized and oppressive patriarchal education, because it foments stereotypes, and that's how we are formed in the state education. And so do a critical look to education and make that analysis, that even though we have that, aside from the fact that we have no access, it's not pertinent. The education isn't pertinent. And how can we identify that in our study, that we are going to an educational system at a primary school where they devalue our system, where they speak to us in a language that isn't ours. They make us use clothing that isn't ours. For example, they were saying, you're not carrying your clothing, your traditional clothing. You're gonna wear a uniform. We're not gonna speak Quiche. We're gonna speak Spanish to you. You're not going to be able to put you're gonna be able to exert your identity, because this is a different kind of education, and you are somebody else. So it's an education that takes me away from my community, my people. So how can your study bring an information on, or can bring identity to who you are? You have to learn doing, it's from the work, from how do you teach a woman to weave, for example? It's not in a class. How does a woman learn? Working with mom and dad and the family. So rescuing that way of education without having that criticism, that patriarchal wisdom can bring, and that it's something that women have. It's a strength that women have. So women, even though they don't know about their Western society, they do know about their own life, their cosmovision, and they have the wisdom of health. They educate, they're the first educators. So how is that study? How does your study, Fatima, recover that strength and the value of women and recover it from there? And how that other system that you want to access is patriarchal and alienating, but that doesn't have geographical access or economic access. So to do that reflection in another chapter, and what do women do? I don't know how to read or write, my mother says, but she learned how to read on her own, and she can add and subtract. So I'm a result of the woman that didn't know the state and official educational system, but she knew this is the way of working, of values and working. So where I learned life and identity was my home, and it was my father, my mother, and then the community network. So that's another element. What strategies, what is our own ways of education exist? And what strategies are women doing to exist the right to education? And finally, your proposal. And I told you we should have two different focus. Just for the right to education, how we're going to strengthen the way for the way to pave the way for education for our children, but saying, okay, should we want that child to be colonialized? No, we have to transform that. Our community and our peoples, they are worth the strength. We need to be empowered from the education of people, from our cosmovision and from our values. How are we going to think of a route to strengthen education for life from people's perspective and from women, where we can visualize that the main educator are women, that you can kind of turn that education, and how we're going to have an incidence on this. And two, how we're going to have an incident that there is an education from the peoples that we can implement and highlight in the official education system, and that we can actually have access, but not a school that I'm going to be a stranger in, but a friendly education that understands my identity, my story, and that strengthens me as a woman, that doesn't make me feel less, not because of my color or my economic condition or my age. That's something else that I think we have to highlight. And how we're going to create an influence in the educational system, and how we're going to have an influence from the people's perspective. I think that was the reflection. I remember that was the reflection. But I think that it's a very valuable research if we establish it from that double look. And I invite everybody to present your studies from that double perspective. I also invite Fatima to see the recording of the session again, because I know we're going to have other elements that I didn't comment, but that could be useful to review what we commented, other comments that we made. and for you to highlight the role of women in education, the values of that educational system, and maybe some criticism. And finally, the right for women to education, but an education that is accessible, that is closed, that is geographical, economic, and cultural, and that has equity. That would be it. But I hope that I was able to fulfill your expectations, and thank you so much.
And now I will to show the activity for Moodle for the next section in Friday. Yes, I think it's the first activity. I hope everybody will be motivated to develop this activity. Yes, the idea is to reconstruct in particular your methodology and to imagine a specific workshop. You need to describe the different steps of the workshop. And if it's possible, you can do you can use a picture, or if you want to write, or if you can use, for example, a video involving one of the participants or your alliance. It's okay. Yes, and once finished up, it is important to upload the homework to forum number 4. Okay. And I think it's everything for today. I don't know if perhaps Lorena wants to close the session with an energetic and spiritual closure, because I think today it was very a very beautiful session with the personal experience of some of the participants.
¿Ves? Antes está bien, con mucho gusto, Ángela. Solo creo que no queda. Se vuelve a escuchar la traducción en inglés.
I just think Nukila had a question.
Yeah, just want to add what Lorena, I agreed with Lorena said about education, because this right to education is the basic, the foundation of the other rights, right to work, right to having family, right to marry, right to have the house or something like that. And in the general education, it's always taught that man is the head of the household, of the family. No woman, yeah. And then you cannot show your uniqueness, our symbol, our uniqueness in Indigenous in the public school. That's the right to education and uniformity in language, culture over the state, over the public, public knowledge or something like that. And moreover, woman has long journey on education discrimination, because when woman graduated from the high school, for instance, she has to get married. Otherwise, she been accused, oh, you are not, you have to get married. Otherwise, you're, you cannot get the son or children or babies at your age. That's discrimination as well, related with the education. And then when you get pregnancy, right, is and then when you go to university, no more scholarship, because there is discrimination on ages, on certain age, by the scholarship, by the grant. So that's also the discrimination that being because of the education as well. And in terms it is about the scholarship and also university. And I would like just want to add about that. I agree with it. Just want to add what Lorena mentions about education. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Nutila. Thank you very much. Bueno, Mayora.
Muy bien, quiero pedirles.
Okay, I want to ask that regardless of how you are, that you open your camera and ask each of you that we're going to close. We're going to go ahead and get our rub our hands to wake up our own energy. First, we're going to do it from the left hand over the right hand 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. We leave it. We go to the left hand 4 times. We shake, and we're going to receive the energy of the grandfather sun, the energy of the stars, and we're going to pass our hands to what we call the top of our heads, where we had the soft part of our skull when we were born. We move it 4 times. We thank for being born. Our today, our present, our past, and our future. We ask for love and affection. We put our hands in our eyes so that our eyes can see with the soul. To our nose, to be able to inhale what gives us life, and exhale what takes life away. Our mouth, so that we can say words and of light, of clarity, of strength and life. We go to our ears so that we learn to listen to ourselves with our light and our shadows, so that we can listen to the sound of the birds, of the wind, of the plants, of water, that we are so that we can be educated from the strength of nature, Mother Nature and its energy. We go to our neck to say everything that is blocked here be unblocked. Everything that I haven't been able to say or that I have been silenced, that I can let it go and give it to Grandfather Sun and the stars, so that they can transform it into energy of life, in confidence, in health and happiness. I take my hands to my heart to say all sadness, all exhaustion, all accumulated pain be untangled. I open my heart and I let it go, and I blow 4 times, so that everything that left me, I appreciate it, I thank for it. And if it comes back in happiness and in happiness. And I say, I'm sorry for things that have hurt me. If I have eaten things that have hurt me, or drinks that hurt me, if I have fed from what causes me pain, I'm sorry. And I let go everything that is hurting my stomach, hurts, pains, and any issues. I put my hands in my ovaries, thanking all the time that I have been given to my womb, that thanking for their strength. I go to my vagina and I thank the life energy. I go to my legs, my feet, and I thank for their life. I let it go. I let go. I let go. To the bottom, to the top. We open our eyes again. We do our shoulders back 4 times. And I let go of all the burden that I have imposed on myself, or that the history created. I let it go with happiness, and I open my wings. And I invite you to flying with those wings and moving forward, and continue to be co-creators of methodologies and processes that will make you live. Not that will worry you, but also that will make you live. And that our research and our processes make us grow together. I give you each of you one of you a hug in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night, and the twilight. Have a good afternoon, have a good night, have a good morning. Let's all continue flourishing. You are in our hearts, and please stay safe. Thank you. Bye.